Hello.
Hey YouTube, it's mrs.motomattman. I hope everybody's having a great night. I wanted to give you guys some more information. So one of the things that I've done recently is that on Instagram I did one of those posts of a Throwback Thursday, and I had posted a picture of my BMX days. So for those of you not familiar, I used to BMX race, bicycle motocross. So this was my bike right here. This was my bike when I finished my career with riding, but that was my bike. So I posted a picture, and there was a lot of conversation, some questions and things like that. So I just figured I would go ahead and do a video, since obviously we're having snowstorms and everything else and cold temperatures. So I would go ahead and do a video giving you guys some information about when I used to BMX race and kind of like what it was like and everything. So I hope you enjoy. But again, it's on I posted the picture on Instagram, over Instagram, mrs.motomattman on Instagram. So one of the things I wanted to show you was, because I sit in this chair all the time. I sit in this chair all the time when I'm doing my videos. But one of the things I wanted to point out to you guys was my chair says NBL All-Star. So back then it was called the National Bicycle League. The NBA and the ABA have since joined, and they're one league now. But when I raced, it was the NBL, National Bicycle League. And this was a chair that I won. So, and you know, obviously you win trophies, you win money, you didn't win different things. But this was a very cool piece that I had won. It's a director's chair. So I like this chair, and I use it for my videos because it's very comfortable, and I like it. So I wanted to point out to you, when you do see me sitting in my chair, that's where I got my chair from BMX racing. Funny story about these. So my favorite color is blue, and when I used to BMX race, I always raced in Vans. So my Vans were always, well, they were always blue. This is the Vans that I liked. So when I was younger, and when I was at the point that I was stopping racing, I had bought another pair of Vans because I wanted to have an extra pair set aside, and these were them. And I actually had them sitting in a box under my bed, kid you not, for like 20 years. And then I pulled them out and I started wearing them. So they held up pretty good. They, you know, with age, they don't tend to, the glue doesn't stay together really well. But one of the things, like somebody that actually races could be able to tell you that I don't have the marks on the bottoms of my soles from my pedals. But this is where I kind of got my love of Vans, is that I used to wear Vans all the time when I was BMX racing. So these were one of the pairs that I had stored, set aside. At some other point in time, I'll probably show you another pair of my Vans that I have. They're my Alice in Wonderland Vans, which are totally cute too. But that's the story behind these blue Vans. Favorite color, and I've had them for a really long time. Let's see. Oh, okay. So back then you could race with an open face or a full face. So this was one of my open face helmets. It was an Echo. You had a visor. You had a mouth guard. I don't know what the specifications are you have to have now for racing, but this was my last helmet that I had. I also had a helmet that my dad had actually painted. I raced for a team called McFarland's. It was a bike shop, and my dad had painted pink flames on my helmet, and I had a visor that matched it and everything. But this was obviously, again, my favorite color's blue, so this was my last helmet that I had. So I still have it, and of course I still have my bike. So my bike is a PK Ripper, and the thing about my bike is that I liked it because, I don't know if you can see it real well, but the tube for the bike is flat. So like where you would see your average bikes, you're gonna have, the tubes are gonna be round. But my bike, it's a PK Ripper. Again, the tubes on it are flat. So that was one of the things that attracted me to this particular frame when I was younger. But it's your same, I mean, it's your average 20-inch bicycle. Obviously, you have your pedals have a lot of grip to them because you want to make sure your feet stay on. Everything about it, I guess I just think about it as everything on it is average. The only thing that I really liked about it was the fact that the frame was flat and it was considered a PK Ripper. It was called a PK Ripper as the brand. When I ordered it, my dad said, well, just get it like this and I'll paint it for you. Obviously, this is many, many years later, and it's still not painted, but this is my bike that I used to use when I BMX raced. So that's my bike, and of course I've kept that. You know, when you teach the girls to ride their bikes, I of course get my bike out and pedal it around and get all out of breath and everything, but I like the girls to know that girls can do anything that guys can do too, and this was one of the things that I have to help me show them that girls can do whatever they want to do. When I raced on the local level at a track in Akron in Ohio, and so I raced on the local level, I raced on the state level. There were several different states or several different tracks in the state of Ohio that we would go between racing and competing, and then I also raced on the national level. So with that, like pretty much all summer long, we were traveling as a family for bike racing. My older brother raced too. So as a family, we would be, you may go to Michigan, you may go to Pennsylvania, New York, several different areas that you would go to, but you would go in the summertime and you would compete at a national. You would leave Friday right after Dad got off work. We would travel, go there, stay the weekend. Sometimes it would be camping in a camper, hotel, things like that is what we would do as a family. So I think it's funny because a lot of it I think transfers over for our daughter that does the softball and does travel softball, because we do like 11 tournaments this year, and some families are like, oh my gosh, 11 tournaments, that's a lot. Whereas for me, for BMX racing, we were gone all the time, and we were out of state all the time. So for me, traveling for softball isn't a far-fetched, just because I was used to the fact that my parents would take my brother and I all over the place. When I was racing, we actually had the Worlds that were located in Watford Oaks, Michigan. And so we competed at the Worlds. It was the only time that I was racing that the Worlds were held in the United States, and they were held close enough for us to be able to participate. So we went and we competed at that. What was really cool about that is that we took little American flag pins, and we would exchange them with other people from other countries. So I had a hat, and I had little pins on it of flags from other countries, which I thought was really neat. Now with softball, our daughter does kind of the same thing when we go to national tournaments, but they're just exchanging pins with other girls on other teams. So they may or may not be from a different state or whatnot, but they're doing kind of the same thing where they're getting to exchange pins, which was, I think it's a great experience. Let's see. I started racing when I was 5. Nowadays they do the little bikes where you don't have any type of pedals, and you walk them. You walk the bikes, or run really, because you want to go fast. But when I was little, we started off with big wheels. So they would put you on a portion of the track and send you off down. So just in case, I may need to back up a little bit. So a BMX track, if you're not familiar, there's a starting gate, and the starting gate drops and you go down it, and you've got hills and you've got turns, and there's a finish line. So you're competing against the other people that are in your same moto, or you may have multiple motos of the same age group. but so you have to compete. So you have to jump, and you have to pedal fast, and you have to be aggressive to be able to make it around the track, and of course to win. But so back to when I did the big wheel racing, they wouldn't put you on the entire track for big wheel racing because there just wasn't, the big wheels couldn't handle the big jumps and everything. So you would do a section of the track. So when I was 5, that's what I did. And then when I was 8, I started racing bicycles. So I had a red line that my parents had purchased, and so I raced a little bike. It was called a red line. And you didn't do a 20-inch bike for that. It was called a mini. So it was smaller than that. And so that's what I started racing then at that point in time at 8. And then I raced all the way until I was like 18 years old, to like a senior in high school. At that point in time, the class that I was in was called the Supergirls. So you didn't earn trophies anymore. You won money. So when you would compete nationally, I was competing against girls from Florida, California. I was competing against some really tough competition, especially right when I had stopped racing, because that was a Supergirls class, and you could earn money doing it. So there was a lot of tough competition for that. But that was a lot of fun. And again, I stopped racing when I was like 18. At that point in time, my dad was the president of our local track. So he ran that for a number of years to keep that track going, and he had a lot of fun with that. So we were, in addition to racing locally on the state level and nationally with his involvement in running the track, we were very involved as a family with the organization and promoting the sport. So my rankings, I'm sure, obviously I'm a very competitive person, so my rankings are important. Locally, I was always number 1. There wasn't really anybody in our local area that could compete with me. Sounds kind of like bragging, but it's the truth. On the state level, pretty much my entire career, I was either number 1 or number 2. Again, aggressive, yep. And on a national level, the lowest I ever was like number 5. But again, when I raced nationally, I was racing against girls in Florida, all over the place. And they had advantages, unfortunately, that we don't have here living in Ohio here, that they could race all year long. Now, we did race in the wintertime sometimes, but we would have to go all the way to the Columbus area. There was a track that they had built in a horse barn. So with horse barns, sometimes you don't have as much going on in the wintertime, but they had an indoor arena, and they brought in all kinds of dirt, and they built a track, and they would race on that track all winter long. So it was like a 2.5 hours or 3-hour drive, and we would go down there as a family, not every weekend because we couldn't always do it because of the weather, but we would go down there, and then we would race in the wintertime too. So unlike the girls in Florida, that's when we would get the time in racing, would be at that indoor horse barn that we would do the indoor racing. One quick funny story was that we did the President's Cup. That was actually located in Columbus, Ohio, downtown at the Hyatt Regency, and they would bring in a track, the dirt, and build a track, and it would just be for the weekend. It wasn't for, all winter long, but they would bring in the track, bring in the dirt, and build a track for the weekend, and it was called the President's Cup. And you would have all the different states that would be competing. So they would do a parade of the states, and you would have every state that would be represented, and you would parade around the track, and everybody would have, their state's gear on, kind of like what they do with the Olympics. So, that was a pretty big deal for me when I was a kid. But you would see, of course, it was in the wintertime, and you would see people there from Florida, if it was snowing, that they would, of course, be running outside to play in the snow because they would be excited to have the snow and have lots of it to be able to play around in. But that was the President's Cup that we would go to every year. And just a fun fact, so again, they only had the track there for the weekend. So they would build it, we would race and have thousands of people there racing, and doing all that, and then as soon as like the last race was done, the equipment would come in and they would have to tear it all apart and get it all shipped out of there, because you know they only had the space rented for that weekend. So that's just a fun fact for that. Let's see what else. I think that's everything. But like I said, I like to make sure that my girls know that they can do anything, and you know, you can dress and be tough just along with the rest of them. Like I said, you know, these are my shoes. These are boys technically. Technically, these are boys. I wear a size 5 in boys, but I want to make sure my girls know that they can be girly girls too. So obviously, I have on yet another pair of my heels that I like. These are called keyhole. So they have keys on them. Obviously, it's not real easy for you to see, but there's roses, and in the roses there's eyes, like right in the center of the roses. But those are real cute. So again, just another cute pair of shoes that I'm sporting. But again, I want my girls to be raised to know that you can compete with the best of them with your equipment and get down and dirty and wear the right gear to be protected, but you can also be a girly girl, and you can wear your heels or dresses or skirts and everything too. So again, I just wanted to share the bit of my past and a bit of information with you guys tonight, because I shared some pictures on Instagram, and some of you guys had BMX race too, and that was really fun to hear information about, you know, where your local track was, or that you raced with your kids and everything. So I enjoyed that. So I just wanted to make a video tonight about that. So I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, be sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell when you receive the notifications, so that way you can continue to receive all the new material that I'm making. So thanks again for watching, and leave a little sparkle everywhere you go.